Well, I'm going to continue my series on the top 10 things you should be hoarding on your homestead. Now again, these are things that you should have plenty of in case you run out or you just need to have all those extras. And number 2 is canning jars. For some reason we have tons and tons of canning jars. No, we have canning jars for canning obviously, but we have all kinds of different sizes. We have these, which are the 12 ounce. And for some reason we have these little tiny canning jars. I don't know what in the world you can in those, but...
Tomato paste.
Tomato paste, okay. My camera operator says tomato paste. So this is just a small sampling of the canning jars we have. And these are of course just the empty ones. If we would take the camera up in the attic, which we are not allowed to do, we would see this plethora of empty canning jars that we have. Now when you go to start collecting your canning jars, the last thing you want to do, of course, is run out to the store and just buy them at full price, because they can get pretty expensive. Canning jars, what, Kelly? A little over $1 a piece, depending on what you're getting? She should probably be on the shop, but she refuses to be. So you could be spending a lot of money if you just went out and kept buying canning jars. So what you can do, of course, is find a good deal. Sometimes you'll find people that are selling them in bulk. They're getting rid of their canning jars. They're done canning. You can find them at yard sales, those type of things. Of course, you want to look and make sure there's no burrs on the edges. There's not any cracks or any damage like that. But you can really get some good deals if you're buying used canning jars. Or again, just look for places that are selling them as a wholesale or closing out or whatever. Then of course, use your old canning jars. So as you consume the food that you've canned, and of course clean those out and put them back in storage. So it's one of those things, how many canning jars should you have is a very loaded question. A, because there's tons of sizes, and B, it just depends on how much canning you do. Are you feeding a family of 2? Are you feeding a family of 14? So that would determine that. And of course, how much canning do you do? If you only make jellies in the fall, then maybe you don't need as many canning jars as you would need if you had a bunch of other stuff. So we tend to have canning jars everywhere, and you can see all around us here. We've got canning jars we drink out of. We got canning jars that we store jelly in. We got canning jars we put flour in. We have them everywhere. So anyway, so that's one of my recommendations. I think you can never have too many canning jars. And I say that, and somebody's going to come back and say, well, I have 4,000 canning jars. Well, maybe you can have too many canning jars, but something you want to keep in stock. And of course, if you don't can, then don't have canning jars. But I would challenge you to say, if you don't can, you need to learn how to can. It's a very easy process. There's some simple things you can do to get started, and you don't have to be a master canner. You can start simple with certain ingredients. So that's a tip.